When Microsoft Flight Simulator was released 2 years ago, it opened up flight simulation to the world. Along with that came plenty of add-ons, communities, the list goes on. All in all, creating an incredibly versatile platform, perfect for any type of flying. From general aviation to commercial aviation, every single part of flying in real life is somehow in Microsoft Flight Sim, including military aviation. But how is it on Microsoft Flight Sim? As days go by, we seem to get more and more military themed add-ons coming to the simulator, whether it be aircraft, airports, missions, etc. Well, in today's video I'll be asking the question, can Microsoft Flight Sim be used as a military flight simulator? Going through my personal opinions, what there is on offer so far, speaking about its future potential and limitations, and comparing it to the market leader DCS. Without further delay, let's get right into it. So hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud, welcome back to another video. At the time of filming, we're 40 subscribers away from the big 20,000, so if you hit that little red button, it would be a great help. Now let me first of all discuss what military simulation is. Of course it's kind of in the name, you should be able to work it out. Now I don't mean used by air forces to train their pilots, that would be silly, they've got things for that. I just mean a good platform to experience the thrills of military aviation, comparing it to the most obvious choice, DCS. Now let's start off with what Microsoft Flight Sim can provide. Clearly Microsoft Flight Sim beats any other flight simulator out there, including DCS, in terms of graphics. It just looks beautiful. Everyone knows this. Some people describe it as a bit cartoony at times, but I think there's add-ons out there such as Reshade, Floyd's Cloud Mod, etc. that can really improve Microsoft Flight Sim and move it away from the potential cartoonish critique and push it towards realism. Of course it does depend on your system and what you've got inside the computer. All in all, I think it's a fair point to say that Microsoft Flight Sim clearly is the most beautiful flight sim out there in terms of graphics. But what about aircraft? Well, in terms of military simulation, there is a load of aircraft out there, but none of them are yet to reach the system depth that we see in the likes of DCS. The most recent military release would be the Top Mac F-22A, and you can check out my review of it on this link here. One thing I'd say about it, while it is a really fun aircraft to fly in Microsoft Flight Sim, due to limitations in the real world and in the simulator as well, it does not accurately reflect the F-22. There are of course older aircraft, from the F-15 to the F-18 to the F-16 to the Supermarine Spitfire to the Hawker Hunter. There's plenty of military aircraft, fixed wing and helicopters in Microsoft Flight Sim, but to me it seems that none of them reach that high level of system depth that we see in DCS. Now being truthful, that may change in the future, whether that be with the Aerodynamics KC-10, of course used as a refueling tanker in real life, or more detailed various fighter jets that do exist. A lot of the jets, such as the Hawker Hunter, do get close to being as realistic as possible, but there's still quite a way to go. That, in my opinion, that's not just with individual add-ons, that's with Microsoft Flight Sim military simulation as a whole. There's plenty of aircraft out there, great diversity, great variation, but none of them hit the mark just yet in terms of study level. I don't think any of them can realistically be compared to the system depth in DCS as of yet. That may very well change in the future, but in my opinion, we're not there yet. Now from system depth to how they look, I think in Microsoft Flight Sim, the aircraft look just as good as the market leader in terms of military flight simulation, DCS, if not better. Using Microsoft Flight Sim's awesome lighting model, you can really see these aircraft shine. Quite literally, they do look awesome. Now cockpits do vary from the awesome Hawker Hunter cockpit to the less awesome F-15 or F-14. Now there are reasons for this variation, i.e. balancing performance over graphics, but a lot of the time you will find that cockpits don't look as good as DCS, or they do look as good as DCS, if not better. It really does depend on what aircraft you pick up. All in all, I would summarise Microsoft Flight Sim's military aviation scene in terms of aircraft as diverse, from helicopters such as the Huey to fighter jets such as the F-22 and F-35. But what I would say is that I don't reach the system depth that DCS offers. This is a given. I think it's been proven enough by all of the aircraft that have been released. But how do they fly? Well, Microsoft Flight Sim's flight model does depend heavily on the aircraft, and I couldn't sum it up in one word. Some flight models are awesome. I'd say the Aeroplane Heaven Spitfire feels really good if you're looking at vintage military aviation. As with the Top Max Studios F-22, which has awesome modelling of the thrust vectoring. And the F-35 by India Fox Techo has some really good modelling of VTOL flying, vertical takeoff and landing. Now I'm sure it doesn't match up to real life, in fact I know it doesn't, because India Fox Techo said it themselves. But as far as I know, I can't recall there being that level of VTOL, i.e. the F-35, in DCS. We have got the Harrier in War Thunder, which I haven't really compared to, but it's another fantastic military simulator out there. But yes, Microsoft Flight Sim certainly wins here once again in terms of diversity of aircraft that fly. All in all, Microsoft Flight Sim is a good shout if you like to diversify your military hangar. One minute you could be flying a Huey, the next minute an F-35, the next minute a Spitfire. You can't really do that on any other simulator just yet. Well, what about the scenery? That's another important factor. There's plenty of freeware and payware military airports and airfields out there. From former RAF airfields in London, such as Pilot Plus's Biggin Hill, to mega bases such as RAF Lakenheath. They've all been modelled in Microsoft Flight Sim to a high detail that I personally believe beats any other military simulator out there. But this is very PC limited. This really isn't an option for Xbox. While there are plenty of military aircraft available for Xbox, military scenery is limited to Asobo-made airports such as Miramar Marine Station on the west coast of the USA. I will be talking about PC and Xbox towards the end of the video, but scenery on a whole, at least on PC, is much better than any other military simulator out there, depending on the payware or freeware you pick up. You can find some real gems out there, and my personal recommendation is RAF Lakenheath. I've put a link of it in the description. I think that sums up scenery. Scenery is awesome, as expected with Microsoft Flight Sim. Now, what are the drawbacks of military flying on Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, one, no weapons and no in-depth radar. I have spoken about system depth. This is another drawback, of course. But Microsoft Flight Sim limits it basically to have no weapons through the in-game marketplace. So it means if you want to fire weapons, you do have to find some pretty alternative sources. I believe someone made a helicopter that could fire some missiles, but it's still pretty scarce and in no way up to DCS level. This is limited to add-ons on PC only. This is a pretty big limitation that means for some people, military flying on Microsoft Flight Sim will just not be their cup of tea. What about aerial refueling? Well, it doesn't exist yet, but the aerodynamics team, I believe, are working on it, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do there. All in all, you don't get the same features that you get in DCS or War Thunder, so if you want that high level of realism that you get in other flight simulators, such as DCS or War Thunder, to a certain extent anyway, you're not going to get it here. All in all, can Microsoft Flight Sim be used for military flying? Well, yes. Is there a diverse range of aircraft that suit your military needs on Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, yes, there certainly is. I've spoken about enough today. Does it look beautiful? Yes, it does. Is it fun? I think so. But are there various limitations that restrict military flying to formation flying and basically buzzing airports as opposed to dropping bombs or firing guns? Well, yes, sadly Microsoft Flight Sim does limit it there. You can't do it. You can't have dogfights unless you use some very, very interesting workarounds, I imagine. So certainly a very limited sim in terms of military aviation, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't look into it. If you have got Microsoft Flight Sim, then I would say flying around in military aircraft from the F-22 to the F-35 of aircraft carriers, which do exist somewhat, I would say give it a go. It's only going to get better at the end of the day, and I'm sure some people will come up with some creative solutions. Now, I understand this has been a bit of a different video, but to answer the question in the title, can Microsoft Flight Sim be used as a military flight simulator? Oh yes, it certainly can. Does it beat other flight simulators out there for that designated purpose? Well, not yet, but could it do in the future? I guess I haven't got a crystal ball, but I do believe it could. If people can get some workarounds in, then you can utilise Microsoft Flight Sim's awesome scenery and lighting model to make a worldwide military flight simulator where you can go around shooting down your friends and dropping bombs on enemy bases. It would be great fun, but at the moment with Microsoft Flight Sim, it's very limited due to various reasons, some of which I've touched on in this video. But at the end of the day, to finish this video on a good note, it really doesn't matter what simulator you fly on. This was just a bit of an informative video to bring you sort of up to date with the military scene on Microsoft Flight Sim. From me today, that is all. I'll see you around. Be sure to check out my Amazon affiliate links for all the stuff I use to fly, film and edit. I'll see you around, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.